Welcome to the I'm from Denver podcast with Brandon Lloyd, former Denver Bronco, 11-year NFL vet, human highlight reel. There's no, I mean, if you look up the footage of you, which I told you, Brandon, I looked up your footage on YouTube. There's not a lack of footage of the highlight reel when it comes to you, man. It is unreal. A community leader and a good-looking SOB with stories for days. And no one better to do this podcast and host this podcast than Brandon Lloyd himself, man. We are excited.
Awesome. Thank you for the intro. I'm really looking forward to going back and forth with you and working with the community and and hearing what comes up. I'm really looking forward to going back and forth.
And we're doing a dry run here. We got the studio being custom built for you, and we have a lot of things going on. But you and I decided, all right, let's jump on together, see how this flows, and kind of just go off the cuff and see what happens. And I'm excited. I met you years ago at Comedy Works when you'd won me my fantasy football championship. So I owe you a dinner for that. But this show right here with Brandon is going to be all about Colorado, but it's also going to talk about sports, music, food, people, and it's really something that you helped outline this. This was kind of your goal and agenda with the show.
Yeah, of course. I'm going on 18-year resident here in Denver. So, even though I came here and played in 2009, I kept my residence even though I played for 3 other teams because of the lifestyle, specifically because of the lifestyle, the outdoor lifestyle, the culinary experience, the spirits, the beer scene, and then it's outdoors. Being from Missouri, when it snowed, I had to hide inside. Here in Colorado, you get to go play. So
you could walk out in shorts even.
Yeah. Then it's the concert scene, all the biggest acts through here. It is just so much here in Colorado to just fit my personality. So I consider myself from Denver.
With even Deion Sanders coming to coach the Buffs, like a guy with his resume and all the things he's done, do you think that Colorado played a role in the state environment and him wanting to come here?
Personally, I think he have to learn to love it because it was probably his only real option.
So okay, touche. Yeah.
So, but coming here, I think what we're witnessing is just him being pleasantly surprised. I think that's what we're seeing, and trust me, Boulder is not the Denver experience. Not even close.
No, it's its own bubble. Yeah, I went up to see you. It doesn't.
So whatever he's talking about, it's like whatever. I don't.
But as a football player, I guess my question to you is like he had that recent blood clot procedure done, and within 24 hours he was out there coaching the game on Saturday.
Right.
Having played football for as long as you had, like, what does that do for you as a young player or just a player in general when your coach just comes out after a procedure like that? Does that change your mentality hitting the field?
Yeah, there's a couple different facets here, right? So one, Deion Sanders is of an older generation. He's of that Ronnie Lott generation. Cut the finger off so I can play in the game, right? So he's of that generation. He's also an old school, real tough guy. So, he'll compartmentalize, anything could be happening in the family. We would compartmentalize that, and the game's the game. The show keeps going on. I'll deal with any of the family stuff after the game, right? It's just, it's a old school kind of mentality. And I think still some of the new school players have that, in professional sports. So you'll see that someone passed away and they're playing in the game the next day. Right. Part of that is the obligation to the workplace. And the other part of it is, a grieving, doing something that you love to do and kind of helping in the grieving process. So it's just such a tough dynamic when you see athletes doing that. I say where
would you fit yourself in? Where would you fit yourself into that? Like, are you the old
line.
set of mindset?
The same line. Yeah. I had in 2011 when I was on the St. Louis Rams. My folks are from Kansas City, Missouri. My father had a stroke 3 days before the game, and so on Friday, I talked to Coach Spagnuolo. I said, "Hey, my dad just had a stroke, and I want to go to the hospital." He says, "Hey, take as much time as you need." And I said, "No, I'm just going to go there for the night and then come back Saturday morning so I can be back for the walkthrough. So I just drove back home to Kansas City, visited him within the hospital. You know, a lot of times in those situations, what family members just say, don't worry about me. You go play. You go do that. I'll be fine. So family members tend to do that kind of thing in those moments. But in my mind, I was like, hey, I just wanted to come home, check in, you know, because I'm so close, I can, you know, be present, do this. And then I went back
Yeah.
to work. So I fall more in that old school category. The
Go
second
ahead.
layer to this is the players, the player dynamic. Now, I tend to believe I'm going to speak that Deion has a really close relationship with these players, right? Let's just say that. Now, this usually happens. This is something I always keep an eye out for in the NFL or in a college football season. You got to beware of the win one for the Gipper. Usually something that happens. A coach falls ill, or he goes into the hospital, or you know, someone passes away, and you got to be careful because it gives the team a rallying cry. And so that could have been what we witnessed. And prime time is one for the theatrics. So yes, he was hoping he probably was like hoping that this would inspire this team. They're struggling. They're 0-3 going into
Yeah.
this game. They're 0-3 in the conference. And so they're struggling. So Deion's probably pulling it all out of the bag, trying to get these guys to step up and play. And
I can
he's
see that.
calling gutsy fourth down plays. He's like, he's going for it all. And
Yeah.
so,
Remember, I
it
came
does.
back for you guys. This is for you.
But he says, he probably says it similar to that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the win-win for the Gipper. So yeah, but how long can this last? He can't go into the hospital every week, right?
Now, being a former Bronco, how involved are you? And just a general of being a former football player, like when it comes to watching a Broncos game, do you get that deep with it when you watch the game, or how do you observe and watch football when it comes to a Sunday?
I don't get that deep unless I'm asked to.
Oh, okay.
Because I can totally watch and be detached. But that took a lot of therapy to get to that point. Trust me. Because it's like those
So
first 2, 3, 5 years. It's hard because one, there's the jealousy of, oh I still have more left in the tank. That guy is not better than me. How's that guy still playing? That's going on in the
mm,
mind. And then it's like I still think I can be out there. After 5 years, being 5 years removed, I still think I can do it. So players go through that where I should be out there, or I'm still working out, and I get compliments when I'm out. People are like, "Oh man, you look like you still play," and in my mind, I'm like, "Yeah, actually I can," right? So these things are going through the mind. The the other thing is just like the comparison. Well, I could make that catch. I was doing that. My catches were better. I was doing it. So it's just like this like crazy cycle, and then that's all like on top of the layer of just the PTSD of it all, just the loud noise, the crowd screaming, the intensity, the pressure, the media coverage, the negative media coverage, the lack of privacy, like the internal issues that I have with the team, the money that's on the line, the contract. So it's just like just
oh yeah.
PTSD of being in that environment on top of just an ego. It, it's um it's it it's a
It's a
lot.
lot.
It's a lot going on. It's
Yeah,
a lot.
that's wild.
So
And so all right, but that's the goal of the podcast though. So I hopefully we don't trigger the
no,
PTSD,
no,
but
no. But like I
the
said,
goal.
that's why I have to go through a lot of therapy. So now I can sit at these games and I'm completely removed, completely detached from the outcome. And
All right, well then we're
and so
diving right in because as a Broncos fan and a football fan, I feel like we're in this like perpetual like gonna win by 3 points, and then the defense is always fantastic, and then the offense is always, I don't want to say mediocre, but they just can't. They drive it, and then something happens.
no, it's obvious. The viewers are seeing everything the experts are seeing. So I'm not going to come up here and pretend like I'm seeing something different. You all are seeing exactly what the issues are. Penalties on the offensive line, the false starts, the holding, and then it's like, and these are poor discipline issues. So these are some of the things that fall on coaching. Why is this man holding in the end zone and costing us the safety? So it's just like, these are things that were let go in training camp sometime in August that were unaddressed, and they're just kind of manifesting themselves in horrible ways and unfortunate times. Now, so when I sit back and look at it, it's like, how long is the defense going to hold up? They have to hold up. So therefore, the defense can't have any key injuries, right? They're continuing to call these gutsy blitzes and twists. I mean, they're twisting defensive linemen from the opposite side of the ball to free up Bonito, and creating these huge gashes. So these are just some of the things that I observe, that while they're panned out, they worked against the Eagles, and they're working against the Jets. Is it gonna last against some of the better teams in the AFC? Particularly, let's talk about the Chiefs and the Chargers again, right?
Yeah.
So I'm seeing the same things. I think more of like the details that I get into, which a lot of people are talking about, the quarterback play. So I'd say for me, it is the mechanics. I hear folks talking about the footwork. It is a thing where Bo Nix is so gifted in his upper body. He's got the rocket laser arm, and he's strong. He's big and strong. So he
the
has
potential's
that.
there. Yeah.
Well, not
potential
necessarily the potential. What I'm just talking about is just physical attributes. So he has these physical attributes, but then he doesn't necessarily have the fundamentals where he's stepping into every throw. So his feet would be planted, and then he just kind of throws the ball across his body because he has so much upper body strength and youth on his side. Where if you go back and look at Drew Brees' cut-ups of throwing the ball, if you can just look up highlights on YouTube, he steps into every throw. His shoulders and the ball are at the same height. He takes the same windup and follows through. So it's just like, I'm sure Sean Payton's a traditionalist. I would guess he's a football traditionalist. So when he's looking at Bo Nix and he's like, hey, I just installed this play, you've been looking at Drew Brees throw the ball, and he's like looking at this young player with all this talent and all this, like you're saying, potential, just throwing the ball however he wants to throw it. He's got to just kind of let that go, right? It's like, hey, it's just like a new generation of cat. He's not going to do it. We got to take the good with the bad. So that's why I'm seeing so much inaccuracy with the ball, is because he's just not stepping into the throws and delivering it with enough conviction. Where does that come from? That comes from,
dude. I love hearing you talk about this. It's so like poetry, and I don't mean to interrupt you. It's just like your detail. Like, as much as I want to be like, hey, you see what you said, you see what the average person says. You really pay attention to these little nuances that are like really impacting the whole game and the whole play. It's wild.
Well, just because and being a receiver and being a former quarterback, I was a quarterback in my younger years, and so I learned how to be a quarterback by studying NFL quarterbacks and how they threw the ball. When I was younger, I even taught myself how to throw left-handed, so I could throw like Steve Young and Boomer Esiason, and they throw completely different. Those are two left-handed throws that are completely different completely different angles. And so I could throw like Warren Moon. I can throw like Randall Cunningham. I could throw like Montana, right? I could throw like Dan Marino. So I like really studied throwing and like being able to flick the ball and how those mechanics look. Now, more about the mechanics of Bo Nix. Now, where does the poor mechanics come from? It comes from not reading the play pre-snap. So he doesn't have a necessarily good idea of what's coming to him, and this is just inexperience. You only get this with age. Refer back to Peyton Manning's first 2 years in the NFL, right? Horrible, and then look where he finished. But it took an incredible amount of savant studying of the game to get to that point where you can anticipate what defenses are being and then you can anticipate throws while maintaining your mechanics, and so and to be able to throw it with accuracy. So what happens with a young quarterback is they have to rely on their legs because they miss the play window, and then therefore the play breaks down and they have to scramble. And so that's what we're seeing a lot with Bo Nix. The other thing is that you have to have a rocket laser arm when you're not seeing things because you're late. So you're throwing the ball late. You're trying to squeeze in tight windows, which is what you all experienced as fans when you were watching Jay Cutler. He was not seeing the plays, and so he had to throw this rocket laser arm. When in reality, all that's unnecessary. I.e., Drew Brees. He probably had one of the. He didn't have the strongest arm in the NFL. However, he was able to maintain his accuracy and be a Hall of Famer because of his being a student of the game.
Dude, I love your breakdown. I'm excited for this podcast and just being able to go really in depth every week. But I'm also excited because on the flip side, you're gonna be in the side that you probably aren't used to. We're going tailgating with Brandon Lloyd, and I guess I should rephrase that because you're gonna find the best tailgate.
That's
and I don't know if we were talking about here in a few weeks of doing that. The tailgate life. Do you even have an idea of what that's like? I mean, do you go a lot to other games? Have you tailgated? But I mean, because you're always planning for the game. Do you know how crazy the Denver Bronco tailgates get?
I do not know how crazy the Denver Bronco tailgates get, so I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Do you got a big appetite?
Idea. Actually, obviously, I have a good idea of what a tailgate is and what to expect. So I'm expecting some good food. Definitely, the drinks are going to be flowing. So I expect folks to be having a good time. What are some of the outlier things that I'm looking for? I would like to see some good outfits. I think that's something that we could focus on. Whether it's wild and crazy, half of you is orange, half of you is blue, whatever it is, or just someone with some swag, someone just showing up with that look that's just fly. I'm interested in seeing that.
They really do, and I got to give them props. We did this last year with I'm from Denver, to where we just went out and we were like, hey, let's go find some cool tailgates, the best tailgates out there. Man, such pride in the food, such pride in their presentation. The outfits are just kind of, I mean, you saw everything. I mean, the Barrel Man started it all, but you really see every type of personality out there.
Yep.
And it is just genuine fun. And so I think having you in the mix to where you're going out there and actually finding the best tailgate is really going to be an experience for these fans. So if you're watching this or hearing this, just know that you could tell us what lot to go into. And Brandon Lloyd, he's going to be out there, and I'll be filming you. I'll be snacking with you, but we're gonna find the best food and the best. I like that, the best dressed.
Yeah, best dressed.
We'll find those too.
You get additional credits if you have non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, without a doubt. Extra points.
Extra points.
Well, we also talked about different things happening in Colorado that you want to talk about as well. So I'm excited for that. So when the tailgating is not happening, we're talking about sending you out to restaurants or events, or maybe even go watch the leaves change in the mountains, man. Yeah. It's really kind of wide open. Where do you see this really going? Like, what are you wanting to do with this podcast?
I showcasing Colorado, not only just the Denver, but the Denver metro area is just so much here. What I fell in love with, and why I wanted to stay, showcasing that. And this season, all the seasons, the different parts of the season that makes this place so special. The fall going into the winter time, and whether folks are skiing, and the best places to ski, the best places to stay. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to. Just showcasing, putting Denver on its proper platform and where it belongs. Such a beautiful, majestic state with absolutely so much to do, and things are just in such close proximity to the Denver metro area. I love talking about it, hearing about it, and I want to hear about new places, new things, and see and get new experiences from our listeners and viewers.
Let's go into music, because here's the thing that I really liked, and I think you're a music head, and I only say that because when we talked and we're like, hey man, like what? I go, Brandon, what's the idea here for this show? And music was hard. Music was heavy for you. Are you just like super into music, or what's your vibe with kind of music, and then what you want to do with this podcast and music?
talk about all the music people are listening to. I know that's one thing. I'm incredibly uh, ingrained in music and music culture. Probably since a very young age. Probably, sang in choir and started recording music in high school and continued on in college, and then recorded professionally. Recorded 3 studio projects, have a hip hop catalog. So I've licensed and synced music to Showtime and HBO and
Well, see, I didn't know that.
Activision
That's
and
wild.
Midway. I've synced several shows and had a song "She All Mine" with Bobby Valentino that peaked at number 47 on the hip hop and R&B charts in 2008.
I'm just googling Brandon Lloyd football and coming up with YouTube. I should have put in Brandon Lloyd music. Look at that.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
do you have a studio? Do you still do this?
I do not. That was I would just rent studio time. I'd purchase beats and then write music and go in the studio and record it. At that project, that Shell Mine project, I recorded in the off season in 2006 or 2007. I recorded that when I was with the Washington Commanders. I was training in Arizona, so I'd get up early in the morning. I'd do my workout. I'd eat, sleep, do a second workout, eat, take a little nap, then go in the studio and then record from like 10 to 1 a.m. and then I do it over again. So I recorded an entire studio album in probably like a 3-month span, just being down there training.
Have you ever performed? I mean, you did choir and stuff, but have you ever performed
Yeah.
any of these newer songs?
Yeah, and in 2008, when I was with the Chicago Bears, I performed in a showcase with other Chicago artists as an opening act for Ludacris, and then I performed at the Super Bowl in Arizona, in Glendale, as a part of like an unofficial Super Bowl entertainment
Yeah.
out in the parking lot. So
Do you go to Red Rocks? Where's your ideal venue for a show when you're going to go to a show? Will you go to the smaller venues or will you try to go to Red Rocks? Like what's your, are you just waiting for the right artist to come? Like when are you going to go out?
anywhere, I'll go anywhere, everywhere.
I can't tell you, Brandon, how stoked I am for this podcast. I mean, even just talking to you, I felt like it was a good listen just to learn all this stuff about you. And I think we're just getting started. I'm excited to get you out there and tailgate, feel the experience of what it's like to be a fan at a Broncos game, learn more about football. I think obviously you played as long as you did. And well, before we wrap, you said something about the Hall of Fame the other day. What just happened for you in that? Because I don't want to gloss over that, because as we did the introduction, we need to change this up a little bit.
Well, as a Hall of Fame nomination, so once a player reaches 10 years past their final game, then they become eligible, and then anyone can nominate a player. And so this, as in my first year of eligibility, some person out there thought it would be nice to throw my name into the pool of eligible players, and so I'm in the pool with some absolutely amazing players of
That's so amazing.
candidates.
So
what
happens now? What happens with that? What happens with that now?
Well, it's just a sit and wait game. You know, there's been stories. You have 44 years to get into the Hall of Fame.
Oh wow!
And then the time runs out. And so there's been players that didn't get in until the 44th year, and they got in. Or then you have the first ballot Hall of Famers that are pretty much givens every year, and then you have some players that are on their third cycle. For example, my player that I patterned my game after was Torrey Holt, and he was not a first ballot Hall of Famer. In my mind, I thought for sure he would be.
Yeah.
The greatest show on turf, Super Bowl champion, just like the incredible amount of yards that he's been able to amass. So I thought for sure he would be first ballot. So he's still, lobbying to get into the Hall of Fame. So
my question to you, just because it is, I'm from Denver, we'll end on this note. Like, don't you think it's about time Rod Smith gets into the Hall of Fame? Like, how do you look at him as?
Yeah, but that's that thing. And so it's like for me, it's like being nominated for a Grammy, where we live in a culture where we celebrate the first place winners. And so, it only matters if you won the Grammy. It only matters if you get in the Hall of Fame. but in reality, it is an honor to be nominated, for folks to be thinking of your body of work in consideration for that. And so that's more the category I fall in, where it's like, oh, no,
You honored me, yeah.
I did my best. I did my best with what I had and what I could do, in my time period of playing. I tried to make the most of my platform. It does not quite stack up to Rod Smith. So, and so that's kind of where it's like, I believe Rod Smith belongs in the Hall of Fame, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So, I would never, sit here and be like, oh, I think I should be in the Hall of Fame, but just trying to compare each other's bodies of work. But I
and I don't mean to put you on the spot. I guess it's probably that whole Monday quarterback thing where I just like grew up as a Broncos fan, to where you're like, you just watch that guy and you're like, dude, come on. But the same thing could be said for you. Like I drunkenly went up to you at Comedy Works, and I'm gonna find this picture, bro, because I think you still had some hair going on, and I came up to you, bud, and I was just like, oh, I probably was the biggest fool ever, because usually if I don't drink anymore, but like usually at that point I just had one liquid courage, and it's like, oh dude, you just won me $1,000. Like I probably was an annoying fan to you, but you were real cool. You took a picture with me, and so I remembered that, man. So to be here on this first episode as we kick this off, it was great meeting you then. It's even been better and more of a pleasure now, and I look forward to every episode from here. And I think Denver, we got the best person to host the I'm from Denver podcast, and that's you, Brandon, without a doubt.
Awesome. Well, thank you. No, I appreciate it. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and work with you and the team, and communicate with the city of Denver.
All right, till next week, man. We're gonna get the studio up right. He and I will be in studio together. We're getting that all built out. So thank you for everyone who's watching and listening and doing your thing on this podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll be back here with another episode next week.